Sweet. Well, I think we'll just wait a
Yeah.
couple minutes for some more people to join. Sweet. Let me just go through a checklist and then maybe we'll kick off now that some more people are joining in. I think the big thing is we click record this time. Nice. Andre's here. Cool.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Andre.
Let's give it like one more minute, see if a few more people hop in, and then we'll get started.
Great.
Got a big weekend coming up. Andre or Greg, you guys doing anything exciting for Halloween?
No creative outfits. No, unfortunately.
I live in the countryside, so not much going on in terms of trick or treat or kids at the door.
Yeah.
And it would be spooky if I did get a knock on the door, because I would have had to have gone down a road with no name in the dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryley? You heading out with the kids?
Yeah, we'll go trick or treating.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, be a good time. Well, sweet. Let's get started. Andre and Greg, if you guys will just watch people who maybe are like requesting access in, and yeah, just
sure.
Like last time, let me know if I need a pause or go back to anything. We'll spend a little bit more time building than last session. No intros and stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. So a reminder, we're building an app for, the idea is an app for hosting and selling micro courses. So think about short, few minute videos. You kind of just can buy them once, get access to it, kind of a thing. We're going to show today, we're going to be doing a little bit more features and integrations. We're going to be working with Stripe today. So I guess we'll get into that. So if you didn't watch the last one, or just a refresher, last time we built the ability for an admin to log in. Then we added the ability for an admin to create and manage their courses that they wanted to sell. And then we had this index page that showed the list of courses that someone could buy. So the last thing, the thing that we didn't get to last time, and we'll get to today, so I guess I'll switch over to what we're going to build today. So we need to make it so when from the index page, when I click a course, I can see a course details page. Then we're going to make it so a user can purchase a course with Stripe checkout. We're going to wire that all up. So we're going to build a webhook to handle payments. And then I think we'll finish with a user dashboard that, we'll finish with a user dashboard where the user can actually see the courses that they've purchased. And yeah, we'll see if we can get through all of that today. So sweet. Let me stop sharing this screen. We'll move over into Raydian and all right, let's go. So quick, I guess, refresher on where we left last time. We had this little index page. We can see the courses here. Let me log myself in. And if I go to the if I go to the admin page and click on courses, we can see the courses that I have added into my app here. So, back on the index page, these are live, pulling from our database. I can see them also by going to our backend tab. I can see the courses we've added. So, all right. So step one is we want to build like a course details page. So I want to be able to click one of these buttons or I guess kind of the whole card and have it take me to a new page that will give us more details about the course. And as a reminder, we've kind of been building this app using our to-dos feature. And so we're going to skip this one for now. But one of the to-dos that we need to get to, this one highlights what we need to build. So we're going to build a course details, or build course detail and purchase. So that looks right. Create the dynamic route there. Nice.
Ryley, do you mind zooming in?
Oh, yeah.
One increment, please. That's
good.
Fine. Thank you. Yep.
All right. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so I've created a new chat here. I'm going to open this to do, and I'm just going to kick this off. So this is going to take a few steps, analyze what's currently in my app since this is a new chat. Then we're going to see it start building. All right, cool. So it recognized that, hey, you're building a feature with Stripe, and we need a Stripe API key to do that. So I actually went and set up a little Stripe sandbox for us to test features. So I'm going to get my Stripe testing secret key. I'm going to add that secret in, and then it'll keep going.
Could you just tell us where that key is then stored and why it's secure?
Yeah, so security is obviously really important. And so there's a lot of times when you work with APIs, this is giving me a little bit more background because don't know the skill level here in the call. When you're working with APIs, a lot of times you'll get an API key. And that API key, think about it as just like a secret password. But the point is that anyone with your API key can access your app, essentially, or access this API you're trying to use. And so it's important that we make them secure. And so one way that we do that is, so for example, like we need our users to, you can think about, we need our users to interact with Stripe, but we want to control that interaction. So we don't want them to have a Stripe. We don't want them to have access to the secret key. In this case, it's a little bit safe because this was like a sandbox. So we're not processing real payments here. But yeah, so our Raydian is smart enough to say, oh, that's a secret key, is something we should keep secure. We're not going to you're not going to see this secret key in the code anywhere. We store that in a special place. If I switch over to the backend tab, you can see all of the app secrets. Here's the Stripe secret key that I just added. And then when this is done, we'll go look at our backend workflow. And assuming everything worked well, you'll see that it's going to reference it's going to say Stripe secret key instead of like putting the secret key in the code, which is a bad security practice. That answer your question, Greg? Or
yeah, absolutely.
I know you know that, but
yeah. So app secrets stored safely in the backend. Only you as a developer have access to that key. The key itself is not bundled into the front end code, but there is an injection process, which you can actually see in code view. So just to summarize, you can add in all your secret keys when you're asked. We will store them for you securely, and they'll never be shipped to the front end.
Sweet. Okay, so I actually, this to do is running a little bit. It's like checking some stuff. And I'm realizing one thing I probably should have done is been a little bit more specific about how I wanted it to integrate with Stripe. It's doing something that works, but in my head, I was imagining we'd use Stripe checkout. So I'm actually going to go to, let's go to our backend tab, and I'm just going to reload because it'll reload when the chat's done, but I'm not going to wait for that to get done because boring. All right, so we have this backend workflow that it made for us called process course payment. So again, not knowing the skill level of everyone here, there's code runs in two places when you build an app. You probably are familiar even with the terminology front end and back end. Front end is the code that runs in your user's computer when they go to your app and it like app loads. And that's where you've got to really worry about security. When you need to do things in a secure way, you do it in the back end. So that's why when we do things like needing to connect to Stripe and process a payment, we do that through these things called backend workflows. And we know that code can be fairly intimidating if you haven't looked at it before. So we've tried to do things in here to help you make sense of like what this workflow is doing. So the first thing I can do is I can click explain right here. And this is going to say, all right, this API, we kind of break it up into inputs, the logic, and then outputs. So I can say, all right, this API expects a course ID and a price amount, a positive number. And then it also relies on the user being logged in, which is checked being getting current user. So this workflow checks to make sure the user's logged in. Then it gets the course ID of that I want to buy. It's initiating Stripe. And so again, just to like see, you can see where it's saying like Stripe secret key. That's using that secret key that we added through the chat. So again, we're keeping these secret keys away from the code. So if anyone's just coming in, gets access to the code, it's just the best practice for how to manage secure API keys, if you will. All right, so this workflow is not necessarily wrong, but I want to change it. So like I mentioned, this is, I could go look at the Stripe API docs, but this is creating like a payment intent and then just like processing it on the front end. I don't want to build a whole like checkout UI in my app. I just want to use Stripe as a product called Stripe Checkout, where I can just generate a URL and then navigate the user to the URL. If you've bought something on the internet, you've probably used that before. So I can just come to our dedicated backend agent right here and say, I actually want to just generate a Stripe checkout link instead of a purchase intent. And then
if you should mention, maybe you should mention a Stripe checkout session.
Sure, I think that is technically what it's called.
I'll probably do the same thing, but
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, I guess what we could have done is just said, look, we have a course page where I want users to purchase my course, create a Stripe checkout session, and that's that. And I'm pretty sure that Raydian would have figured out the workflow from there. So it's all about context, I guess. It's all about context, is how specific or how non-specific do you want to be in the context, and how much control do you want to have. So for all of my payments and most of my apps, I use Stripe Checkout, and I'm just really used to saying to AI models, create a Stripe Checkout session from this particular button or from this particular trigger.
Nice. All right, so let's go. Now that that's done, I realized I'm going to try and do the front end and back end sort of at the same time, so like we can see how it works. So I can actually just ignore that. So preface from last time, you're going to see as I'm building, we have a few features that haven't been released yet. So if you see something that doesn't look exactly the same in your app, that's a beta feature that, will maybe be coming soon. We're trying to, we're in a phase of testing lots of features. All right, so I'm actually going to pop this out into a preview tab, which I realized you guys can't see, so I won't do that. So if you guys remember, one of the things we did here was build this course details page. So I'm just going to spend, Greg, fill in any gaps. I'm going to spend just hopefully 10 seconds explaining URLs for a second.
Great.
So I'm sure you guys have used an app like X or Facebook, where you'll go to, like, you know, if you want to look at someone's X profile, the URL says x.com/ and then it says their username. That is that's a fairly common pattern in an app, where it's the part of the URL is not that you have a section of your URL that's not the same every time. So, right. So if I were to put in my username, I'd see my profile. If I were to put in Greg's X username, I'd see Greg's profile. And Raydian can often take care of this for you, but how that shows up in our UI is if you see a part of your URL with a little $sign in front of it. That's telling the code and telling your app that this is actually going to be the URL is not literally going to say course ID. It's going to be replaced with an ID of one of my courses that the user wants to see. So I can come to back to my backend. I have a list of courses. Let's do like this, learn the basics of Python. And so when you're previewing, what can be helpful is if I just want to click on this page, we need to tell Raydian, like, what course do I want to preview? So I can open the settings here, and I'm going to enter just a default value of one of my course IDs. And then now, man, I may need to like do a full reload to it to get that updated value. Now it will have a, now it is like pulling in a course that I can actually see a default when I want to edit this page. All right, so this page looks okay, but I don't really love this blue bar. I don't love, I guess, sorry, I'm getting ahead. Greg, anything I should add on URLs? I don't know if I explained that very well.
No, you did. So if we're in the editor, so this is slightly different to if you're previewing the URL. If you're in the editor, pages that need dynamic data, they will have, part of the URL will include a $sign. If it includes a $sign, then we need to tell Raydian, we need to just add an ID that it can basically pull dynamic data onto the page just so you can see it rendered. So you can't, if you have a dynamic list of cards, when you're in the editor, you can't just click a card and then load that data from the database. That's just a limitation at the moment. Okay, so we have to specify just one row of data from the database so we can see this page load.
Yeah. All right. All right, so let's fix some UI here. I'm gonna go over to this edit page. So these cards has some default padding. I'm actually gonna just split this. I'm gonna change the top to 0. Did that work? Let's see. 0. Maybe the styling is on the content. Let's see. I guess I can ask AI to do it as well. I just don't really love the gap between this like bar and the this thing. Maybe this just needs a little bit of padding, or I don't know. I'm not the designer of the group, so let's do this. Let's change the color of this to be like foreground, and no. So the curse of demoing live, that these things I'm trying don't work.
Remove some padding from the top and add some padding to your blue banner. The reason why I think why your padding 0 didn't apply is you need to add an important tag.
You think it's like an important thing? Oh no, it's working, but for some reason it just wasn't updating. All right, so card header or card. Again, I was trying to show off our sort of editing, our manual editing, and of course it backfires, but I guess that's not what I want. You're saying I want to keep the padding on the bottom, right?
Yep.
And then I want to just remove this background color, I think. So let's just actually see if I can ask AI to do this. Remove the blue background color. And yeah, I guess we found a bug where for some reason things aren't updating very well. But all right, that seems to look a little bit better. What else did you think I should do, Andre? More padding?
Yeah, now that the banner is gone, I guess you can have added the padding back on the card again on top.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I guess we can just go to our card and
Should be padding 6.
yeah, padding 6. And nice. All right. That looks pretty good. Let's get out of this mode. Okay, so I've kind of updated the design here, and let's go check this backend workflow. Okay, so now I've got so now it is, so another thing you can do, again, if you're like, I don't really understand what any of this code does, I can just highlight this section, and it's going to say me, it's going to give me an explanation of what this code does. And we don't, you know, I don't expect, we don't expect very many users to be handwriting code. That's not what Raydian is for. Again, the AI, this all looks perfect. The AI will be able to do all that. I think the only thing I'll need to change is I'll need to put in like what URL I actually want my, where I want my app to redirect to. So I actually don't know the URL of this app. So let's, let me just grab it really fast. And I'll probably change it over time. Go to the backend tab. And again, I can just ask the workflow to do this. We can say, change my return URL to, and I guess
While you're doing that, Ryley, I just wanted to talk about the mental model of Raydian workflows, because you sort of look at a code file, you're probably not, you know, too familiar with what's going on. We don't even really need to show this code file. And I think coming from a no-code background, I've been so used to having like a node editor as a starting point. But what a node editor does is strings together various functions, inputs, and then creates outputs, and actually just creates a code file in the background. So we don't have a node editor because AI is creating a functioning workflow for us already. Whereas if you're in a node editor, you'd start with the blocks and then drag them on and then create the code afterwards. So we have sort of this reverse approach where we just create the solution instantly. We have that luxury. We don't really need to visualize it, although we can see the particular steps involved. But as Ryley was saying, we've built in all of these little explanation tools. You can highlight code, you can ask, you know, you can use the explain button, and you'll realize over time that you probably don't even need a node editor. Look, we're looking at options for that if you guys would prefer that approach. But as Andre likes to say, the further away you abstract from code, just the worse the outcome is. So we're just trying to stay as close to code as possible and building explanation tools where we can to help you guys understand. But I haven't used a node editor for a year now, not once. And I can create workflows by asking for them. So that's sort of the main takeaway.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, I'm going to come select this button. And then I'm going to come over to my chat here. So got my button selected and say I've updated my backend workflow to use Stripe checkout sessions. Can you update my button so when it's clicked, I guess I don't need to narrate. We're just going to say when this button's clicked, I want to go create this checkout session, and then redirect me to that page. It takes the user to the checkout URL. Have a lot of typos in there, but luckily AI will understand it. All right, so that's gonna go. That's gonna do its thing. And I guess now's a good time to test it. So I'm gonna open this in a new tab, and then I will I'll share it. So again, just to sort of get the full demo of the app. So here's our app. I can click data science fundamentals. It shows me that one. If I go back, I can click web development with React. It's going to show me that one.
So just quickly to explain the
Yeah.
distinction, why aren't you doing this in the editor itself?
I could, I guess. I just often, I guess there's two things. One is I like popping it out so I get to see what it really looks like. It's a neat feature of Raydian that you can kind of like preview your app, how it will really work on the web. And then number two is I find it's a little bit easier to work with this when you have dynamic URLs. Just the way our Canvas experience works, I'm just really only ever going to see that preview one. Which
yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, so in the preview, you can just use it as a normal app. You can also use Stripe checkouts, and that will function. I don't think Stripe checkout will actually work in the editor environment.
Yeah. All right. So if everything worked correctly, I should be able to. Yeah, and I don't know if Stripe. I mean, I think Stripe checkout will kind of work here, but. Or sorry, I forget I'm only sharing one of my tabs. So if I click on this data science fundamentals and I click buy now, sweet. Took me to, I guess, can you guys all see? I don't know if with the redirect,
Yep.
I'm still sharing the screen.
It's working. Yeah, we can see it.
Nice. Okay, so that worked pretty good. And now I think we're going to get to step 2, which is, all right, this is a demo app. So I should be able to just enter a valid. Well, I can enter some fake names here. All right. Did I skip a step? Don't want to save my information. Pay. Nice. All right. So it looks like step 2 is we need to handle. My app was set up so that it took me to this payment success page, which we haven't built yet. So I'm just going to actually copy this URL and go back over to my, I guess you guys can't see my URL bar, but it took me to so it redirected me to a page in my app called /payment_success, which hasn't been built. So I'm copying the URL of my page. I'm going to go back over into my editor and I'm going to open my to-do list. And again, we mentioned this in the first call, but these to-do lists are, we're not building Raydian with the intent that AI will just one-shot your entire app. Like we believe a user should be in charge of this process and like fully involved, and AI is your companion, your co-pilot. And so we expect these to-do lists to be used just as much by you guys as, AI is going to generate sort of an initial list, but we expect through this build process that you'll go through and actually, change what's in your to-do list, change how this feature works. I'm going to attempt to do something that anytime you're on a demo, you're like always scared to use features that you worked an hour ago. But I'm going to attempt to use the Raydian planner. So I'm going to say I need to build the experience for after a user purchases a course. Right now, they are redirected to the and I've used Stripe quite a bit, so I could probably give it more direction, but I'm going to try and be a little bit vague and just sort of say, like, I need to handle adding the course to the user after they purchase. Just because I'm a little curious about what it's going to do. So it's all right. So it's giving me some options here. So it's saying 2 gaps: the missing payment success page and workflow don't create a user course record. All right, so that's what we need. So it's saying option A: create a backend webhook to listen for Stripe checkout session. Nice. And then option B: build a success page that pulls the Stripe session. Option A is standard but complex. Option B is simpler for this case. I'll actually leave it up to you guys. What do you guys think? I'm happy to build either one. Which one would you guys rather see? I mean, Greg or Andre are happy to chime in. Or
do you have the webhook already set up in Stripe, ready to go?
No, I was gonna go add that, but it's easy to add.
Yeah. Let's go with A. A is the approach I normally take. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it says it's the standard approach, so let's do it.
So basically what we want to do is when a user, because we're taking a user to an external site, Stripe hosted page away from our domain, when a successful payment occurs in Stripe, well, then we want to make sure that we are capturing, that transaction and the course that they've purchased so that we can provision access to the course for them. So we're doing this through a webhook, an external communication server to server between Stripe and Raydian.
All right, nice. All right, so my my planner agent made this nice to-do for me. So again, a lot of this stuff is like going to really help the agent to build a better feature. So it's like, all right, handle the Stripe webhook. Knowing how Stripe works, this looks perfect. So I'm actually going to come over here and make a new chat. Go to my to-do back here, and I'm going to click build task.
Why did you make a new chat?
Oh yeah, so I like to. We have this ability to make a new chats in Raydian, and part of it is I like to make new chats anytime I kick off a new feature, just to sort of give myself a nice sort of like area I can go back to. We like auto add a title to all the chats. It gives me sort of like a nice way to organize the work that I'm doing, rather than just like one big thread and then 2 days later I'm going back to some feature I worked on and like trying to scroll through and like find where it was. I can kind of have these nice isolated parts that if I need to go back and rework on what we're building here, I can do that. All right, so one thing it needs is this Stripe signing secret. And this is a part of where I'd probably go to the Stripe docs. I think it's just the same as
it's the webhook secret.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over to Stripe really fast and go into my dashboard, and I will go to webhooks. I'm going to add a destination.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'll just extrapolate a bit more on why Ryley created a new chat. So individual chats per feature. So if you're working on something new, start a new chat. That is more focused context that will use far less tokens. Because whenever you click the submit button in the chat, we're sending 4 different things. We're sending a system prompt, we're sending your user input, we're sending the entire conversation, and we're sending things like tool calls and structured data that we've been working with. So that's quite a lot of token usage for basically no reason if you don't need previous context. So context management is super, super important. We're releasing documentation in the next few days, and I've got a big page on managing context. So remember, new feature equals a new chat. You can go back 2 days later and get back to the chat because you've probably moved on and worked on another feature. So in my Raydian app, I have all of my features broken down per chat. Go back to them when I need them, and has all the context to continue.
Sweet. Yeah, that was a good explanation, Greg. Thanks. All right, so yeah, I went over to Stripe, grabbed that Stripe signing secret, and then now it's gonna kind of do part 2 of this. To do I had it to do, I can toggle this down and see that it was all right. The backend workflow, payment success page. So working on a payment success page right now.
So that Stripe signing secret is basically a key that enables Stripe to create data in Raydian. Basically, that's the key to say, "Hey, this data is coming from Stripe. Please let me, please accept this data."
Yeah, it's like a security thing. So like we have basically it's a way for us to verify that it's Stripe saying this person purchased this course, and not some like hacker who's trying to send a fake data and like trying to purchase your course for free. So all right, cool. And then part of this is that notice that there's no dashboard page. We're going to get to that, but the AI decided to be proactive here, so it's going to go make that page. So let's actually just let's keep going. So if I go to my my backend now, and I go to my workflows, I guess we have a bug we need to fix. I don't know why these aren't showing up like they should. But cool. So we've got this process course payment webhook. And so you can see it's referencing this Stripe signing secret that we added. Again, like I am a developer, so I could probably go look at the Stripe docs, but I'm just kind of like hoping it works, saying, explain to me what it does. One thing I do know I need to do is I need to come here and I need to copy this URL. And I need to go back over into Stripe, and I need to paste in this URL so that Stripe knows where to send the event to. So again, with webhooks are like when you go to a website, you type in a URL. Webhooks are the same thing. It's basically just a URL, but instead of it saying that I want a human to use this, it's saying that like Stripe has a URL that they can send data to your app. And yeah, again, without even trying to debug the code like I maybe normally would, let's just go and let's go see if it works. So I've got this, I've got our course ID. We can look at the other pages it made. It's got this payment success. So I think that's right. So I just went to this payment success page without like it. I wasn't redirected from Stripe how I should have been. So that's probably the right URL I want to see. And then it made this dashboard page for me, which we will get to in our next task. So let's go try this flow again. So I'm gonna go back to my app. Let's go to, we'll purchase the introduction to Python this time. Buy now. Enter in our details. It's going to be in the future. So when you're in sort of this like sandbox mode of Stripe, you can just enter any random info for your card, and it should work. All right, waiting for Stripe. Cool. So that says payment successful. And I guess we'll go to my dashboard and see if it worked. All right, so I don't have a course yet. And I think this is the, so this leads us to our next step, which is, I'll go back to our tab. Okay, so as one of the one feature that we provide of Raydian is the ability to, you're going to have to, and again, hopefully we can make this easier for people to understand. I think like our upcoming documentation will help, but you really are going to have like 3 URLs to worry about when you're building an app with Raydian. So when I'm in my dashboard here, this is a URL, but then when you're actually ready to deploy your app, the first thing I'm going to do is come here and create a testing URL. And this is going to actually like take my app, all of my code, and deploy it as if it was like the real version of my app that my users will use. And you can kind of think about it almost like a snapshot as well. So I deployed, so I have like my preview app, which is always live. Every time I like make a change, my preview URL is going to be updated to my latest change. But when I'm ready to say like, oh, I'm ready to send this to someone to test, or I want to like really see how my app works, or I need to interact. In this case, we need to use these testing URLs to interact with a webhook. So I'm going to, so I created a testing URL. I can open it, and you guys can see this page looks just exactly the same. But again, the big difference is just, the big difference is that this version of my app is running exactly how my users will see it. So when you're ready to deploy, oftentimes before deploying your URL, you'll do a testing URL. And yeah, so all of these features should work. If I go to my off page, I think I already have an account. I should be able to log in. Greg and Andre, you guys probably could add more color there. I don't think I explained that very well live. Just the concept of like, you've got a preview URL, and then you've got testing URLs and all of that.
Basically, the reason why we didn't see the course show up is the URL that was used in the webhook was not the preview URL. It was the actual testing link URL. And so that's why it's just important to be aware of what environment am I in? Am I in the preview? Am I in testing a branch, or am I on my main production URL? So you will probably switch over that link to the actual production URL once you're actually ready to ship this feature.
Yeah. All right, so I've logged in. I should be able to now purchase a course. All right, so now I'm trying to test this live. So just to recap, and I don't think I explained it very well, everything we've tested in our app so far worked exactly as we'd like. The payment went through. Our success page went and checked and confirmed that there was a payment. But the part that we are missing is our because we hadn't deployed our app yet, our webhook didn't actually work. Stripe was set up to point to this URL I'm on now. So now I'm hoping that if I test a payment now, we will see the full workflow. And do this one more time. Maybe I should have clicked save cards. I didn't have to type this out every time. All right. All right, so it says that once again, it says it worked, but still not seeing a course. So I'm gonna go poke over to, I'm gonna go poke over into Stripe and see if I can see any issues.
Would also be maybe worth checking. I mean, the AI just kind of made this page on a whim, so maybe make sure that the data is actually loading as well.
Yeah. All right, so I can see Stripe says it sent the webhook successfully and our app received it. So let's go to our backend tab and see if this user course was added.
Just switch back to your editor if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I've switched my backend tab and cool. So we can actually see that it actually did work correctly. Like I went over to this user course. You can see like, this is today's date right now. This is the purchase I just made. This was the user I was logged in as. And yeah, it did purchase it did add to my database. So now we just need to, I guess this is the last step was to work on this dashboard page. So I guess that's probably the right next step. So,
Just weren't logged in.
yeah, just wasn't logged in. So there we go. I'm on my dashboard page and I can see that this is the course that I bought. And that all happened like from Stripe securely sending me a webhook and then that processing it. Just to I guess maybe do it again to confirm for ourselves that it's actually working. Why don't we try it again? Should we purchase one more?
Sure, let's do one more.
All right.
And just to summarize very quickly while you're trying that, Ryley. We ask Raydian to set up a Stripe checkout session. Raydian then asked for an API key, which we added. Done. The workflow is then created. Done. And that's step one. That takes you to Stripe. That will then process a payment from a user. But then how do we know that a successful payment was made if it's an external website taking the payment? That's why we then needed webhooks, because webhooks is server-to-server communication that then sends data back to Raydian and then creates that row in the database that we're looking at. So 2 parts. That looks like that's working now.
Cool. So yeah, I just went and purchased this course that I had added, my cool course, and yeah,
very nice.
It worked.
Yeah,
worked great.
So I guess traditionally in no code, you would first have to set up like an API connection, read the documentation, go through all of those steps. Then you would have to build the UI. Then you would have to create the steps of the workflow, step number 1, step number 2, step number 3. And that's even before you get to the webhook part. Ryley's just demonstrated this in the last sort of half an hour. If you remove debugging from that, probably 10 minutes, I'd say, is how long it takes me to do it these days, including the Stripe setup. Yeah. So I think when I talk about a different mental model in the backend workflow tab, this is why we haven't created this sort of node step editor, because we don't actually need it. It's working. And the code is correct, and the code is using the latest documentation from Stripe to create this for us. So this is actually the most secure and the best way for building backend workflows that I've found. And when it comes to things like transactional email, which we may get to in this course, it's the same process. I want to send a thank you email to a user when they purchase a course. Please use resend, and off it goes.
Yeah. And not to mention all the error states and loading states that were handled automatically without us even thinking about it. In no code, usually that is something that you have to think about and craft and the AI just knows that that's something you need, and I'll do
Yeah.
that for it.
And yeah, I mean, the last thing I'll say with, us trying to do this live, like integrating a Stripe checkout legitimately is probably, for most apps, probably the most difficult thing an app will do. For a lot of apps I've even built, like that whole flow is, even the planner agent, when it talked about webhooks, said like the standard way, but a little bit more advanced. So it's worth knowing, like most features you'll need to build will be much simpler than what we just went through, but we almost intentionally tried to build the hardest thing we could build here. And yeah, to Greg's point, like if I tried to build that integration even in code, that would have taken me at least an entire day of work. So the idea that we could have done it that fast is yeah, it's pretty cool. And granted, part of that comes from experience that we knew a little bit more about Stripe, but we will, I guess, speaking to our roadmap a little bit, like we're well aware that some of these important parts, like being able to process payment with Stripe, are very important to users' apps. And so this is something that we are gonna work really, really hard at to make even easier than what we've shown here. Like in theory, it should be much easier than even what we had to do today. And yeah, hopefully we'll get there with Raydian. But the nice thing is Raydian has a good foundation, so that even the things we haven't made easy yet still aren't too bad. All right, so I'm just going and looking over at our checklist we made. Clicking a course takes me to course details page. We did that. A user can purchase a course with Stripe checkout. We did that. A Stripe webhook with a backend for a backend workflow. We did that. And then we wanted to get to the user dashboard, and we did that. That's what we're looking at right here. So I would say overall, I'm pretty, yeah, I think when we got everything done we wanted to. In our next session, we will build out the actual course viewer. So we'll make this button work, view the course content, be able to watch the video that's been attached to it. We will probably also integrate with email, like Greg said. We'll build a feature where the admin can send out email updates. You can send an email to all your people who have purchased a course and say, I just added a new course, come check it out, something like that. But yeah, I wanted to leave some time for questions. So I don't know, Andre, Greg, any questions that popped up or anything you think would be worth? Happy to go back and like double click into parts we covered during this video.
Any questions from anyone?
Why don't we do this?
I will turn this into a course as well, guys. So I'll do like a 30-minute course. You guys can reference that for when the time comes. Training courses are basically in production, Greg. They're going to be ready really soon. Documentation first, and then the training courses after that. And yeah, it'll be payments, emails, data structure, all of that kind of stuff. And what I know is previously creating no-code courses with Raydian will be a lot shorter, just because there's so much stuff that we don't need to worry about anymore. It's more about like system design, system thinking, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's in production.
Nice.
Great. And yeah, I'm guessing this is responsive as well. Do you want to maybe just hit the little responsive tab and we can have a quick look?
Yeah.
Not sure about the header nav.
I say 400.
Nice.
Looks pretty good.
Yep.
So yeah, I wouldn't flip the settings. So if you guys want to like turn on your mic and ask a question, go ahead. We had a small enough group that I
have a question.
Go ahead.
Speaking of responsive,
yeah.
How does Raydian handle the menu in responsive? Like you have a sidebar menu right now. If I looked at this page on a small screen, what would happen with that? Would there be a menu button that would then bring that out, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll answer first, and then Greg and Andre, feel free to chime in. One of the great things about Raydian is that it can kind of be however you want it to be. The exact pattern you just said is fairly common in our it's fairly common for the AI to write, but it kind of just depends on your app, and what it thinks will work best is what it will come up with. And then
Well, what would the default be? So let's say I have a left sidebar with a bunch of choices, and that shows on desktop or tablet. And if I brought that down to mobile size, what would the default be that Raydian would do?
So to answer your question quite simply, is Raydian is built on top of ShadCN, which is a component library. And one of the elements that it's using is the ShadCN sidebar. And that component is taking care of all the responsiveness between the mobile and the desktop version.
Okay, so it's baked in basically.
Yep.
So if you, like we could have asked here, for example, hey, I see that we don't have a sidebar for the other pages. Could you restructure the page to use the sidebar component? It would do that. And when it used that sidebar component, mobile would be taken care of with that.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm trying to see this admin page might be using our default sidebar. So I was just gonna switch over and see. Oh, it's not. So not gonna be very helpful.
The default action was ShadCN. I think it adds the little hamburger icon.
I think this might be, try dropping it down to 480. It's not.
Yeah. So admin page isn't very responsive. We could ask the AI to fix it. But yeah, so by default, it's like visible on a desktop. When it gets down, it disappears off the page and you get an icon, and it takes care of all of that for you. So yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Good question. That was a good question.
That's great.
Yes, a lot of these things that we are able to now let go of. The theory of like responsive design, we don't really need to think about that anymore because we're using a component library, and because we're using Tailwind that AI models just love, things will always be responsive. When I was building out the doc site, I got to the end of building this doc site. Took me about 3-4 weeks, and I noticed just a light and dark mode toggle at the top. I never paid any attention to it. Clicked it, light and dark mode works. That's because it's using ShadCN with Tailwind. So all of these things are kind of baked in from the very beginning. It's not something you do later. It just builds it.
I wish this was available 2 years ago, I'll tell you, because I just spent 2 years of my life building out a solution on WeWeb and Xano. And it's quite a complex solution. And but so much of that was stuff that Raydian just is doing out of the box, and handling all the details, error conditions, and all that jazz. Like it's blowing my mind seeing what you guys are doing and thinking, oh my God, what if I had this 2 years ago? Now the challenge for me is because I put all this stuff in, all the work in, and I've got a product that's live now. You know, maybe as a hobby someday I'd like to try to recreate it or something using Raydian, but there's just so much that's gone into it, and it's quite a robust app that it's frustrating because I wish I could try it, but it's so much work to do that. So maybe for my new stuff, whatever new apps I'm going to use, I'd like to look at this.
Fantastic. Good stuff. All right, guys, I need to drop off. I've got another meeting.
Sure.
But thanks, Ryley, for today. That was fantastic.
I'm just seeing one. All right, so yeah, Ryan, I'll take your question. All right, cool. So your question, just to summarize, if other people can't see, is he's basically saying, I'm a little bit unclear about Raydian's value prop, kind of saying, how does it fit between cursor versus like, you know, Raydian or Bubble, kind of like, you know, your other options. So I guess I'll put it this way. Cursor is a great tool for developers. but there is this big, I guess I'll give some background on myself. So if you weren't here last time, and I'm the founder of Raydian. Before starting Raydian, I ran a fairly large no-code dev agency. So that's the world I come from, is the world of like no-code development. But then I also am like a, I'm like a developer. So I think I understand both worlds fairly well. And I understand the difficulties. Like I've spent years trying to help people build apps who are not traditional coders. And our whole team has. I think that's what makes part of our team great. Cursor is great if you are a traditional developer, but what it doesn't take care of, there's all this infrastructure that goes behind an app. You've got to, like, there's environments and there's dependencies and there's like, you have to set up deployments and hosting and all of that. Those aren't things that Cursor gives you, right? It's just a place to write code. And so if you are okay managing all of that stuff and you're not worried about it, then, and you want to like look at code all day, Cursor is like a great tool. But if we have this sort of spectrum, you've got like Cursor is on one end of it. And then the other end, which again, where I've spent a lot of my career so far, has been working in these no-code tools. And no-code tools, honestly, I think the thing people underappreciate about them is that it takes care of so much of this like infrastructure. You mentioned Bubble, so like if that's the world you come from, right? Like it's pretty amazing that in a tool like that, you can just click deploy and you didn't really have to think about all of the work that went into getting that out. You didn't have to think about setting up your database or like, going and picking a database provider. And, but part of that historically, when you've used a no-code tool, that came with certain trade-offs. Like there was just things that you can't do in a no-code tool, even with plugins. Like plugins kind of would extend stuff, but even the way plugins had to make them work were a little bit weird. There was just like, you were kind of confined to this box that you could really only play within that box. And, a lot of these no-code tools try to make that box as big as they could. But there's like this whole world of code that has all of these amazing libraries and packages and stuff you could do that just like is very hard to reach to if you're stuck in this box. And not to mention the fact that code's always changing. There's like different best practices. And so what we've tried to do with Raydian is, and we think now only possible with AI, is try to provide the best of both worlds, which is, all right, you're not going to really, you can have the full freedom of code. Like anything you can build in Cursor, you can build in Raydian because it's just code. AI is writing the code. We give you all the code. You can, like, feature-wise, you can do whatever you'd like. But also, you only have to worry about the features. You don't have to spend time like setting up your environment or getting some weird issue with the dependency or like wondering why this deploy didn't go out or like all this other stuff that becomes it's really like this big hurdle to get over, to cross that chasm of building an app just really all on your own. So I would say that's the value. I would say, so that's kind of like the space where Raydian plays. And then I would say that the other part of that is because we can kind of put, AI is really a game of context. The more context you can give to AI, the better the outputs are. And because we kind of are building an app inside of this environment that we've created that's always the same, that is always uses the same standards, always uses the sort of same underlying frameworks, if you will, we feel like we can make our AI chat and like our whole AI editing experience way, way better than you'd get in using some other tool. And I would even say that to our vibe coding tools as well. Like we've infrastructured things in a way that will make using AI and Raydian a much, much, much better experience. And frankly, one I don't even think we've like fully even developed all the way. Like we've got lots of stuff on our roadmap that it'll make us much more efficient. So we'll be much cheaper to use token wise, which again, we mentioned this the last call, like we just offer tokens are not how we plan to make money. Like we offer them at cost. So we try to do everything we can to reduce the amount of tokens that people spend building their app because we don't make money from them anyway. So we want it to be cheaper to build an app. So, right, which is different from other tools, like that's their main source of revenue. So they're almost like hoping you'll spend more time chatting with them. That's not the case with Raydian. So yeah, we just, hopefully that answered your question. Happy to follow up if you didn't answer it well. Yeah, good summary. We're trying to provide the best of both worlds and hopefully provide an AI experience that actually works. Like that's the biggest issue right now. Is like there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of like AI can do this, but the problem is it only works 60% of the time, and then stuff breaks, and then you're like not sure how to debug, and you get stuck in this like we sometimes call it like prompting hell, where you're just like, no, please fix, no, please fix. We think the way we've architected and built things, we can save our users from that experience. So
and we're also focusing on your apps when they're actually live in production. Like that's our standard, is to make sure that your apps are supported through Raydian while users are using your app, not just a cool demo to show, hey, I can do something with it.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we're a few minutes over time. Thanks again, guys. We'll push that. We've recorded this session. We'll put this out as a YouTube video that's kind of been edited and a little bit better. But yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone for coming to part 2 of the Raydian build series.
Thank you. See y'all.